a brief introduction. Jeff Provine. I serve here at the freshman programs, part of University College. I teach the gateway to college and learning, so the transition from high school lifestyle to college lifestyle, which should be a major transition, not for everybody, but some people figure it out about sophomore, junior year. So the trick is to get them to figure out everything the first semester. We have a new textbook we've been working on, which is very exciting. Also, to freshman programs, I teach the history of comics. So, a really interesting seminar class where we take a scope of different types of learning and have our final project, which is a comic book creation, as well as a research paper, and also getting into different styles of analysis, both visual and storytelling. So wide scope, and it's about comics. So yeah. I also teach as an adjunct around Oklahoma City in different colleges doing English composition. And for English composition, it's definitely a difficult class to keep people's attention. People aren't typically interested in grammar today, for some reason, which I don't know if that's always been true specific to today, but we do have a problem with transition in language. So texting has done unbelievable damage to the world.
I was about to say, WTF.
Yeah, indeed. So we've got a whole new generation of digital students, so the millennials, as we're known as. And as part of that, we need a new way to reach people who aren't willing to sit and listen for the picture idea of understanding. My favorite story of that is Stonewall Jackson, back when he was an artillery lecturer at the Virginia Military Institute. He would memorize his lectures beforehand, get up in the class and present, and if anybody interrupted with a question or just coughing too loudly, he would stop, stare directly at the student, and then start over from the beginning. It didn't matter whether it was at the very end or when, but they had to stay until it was time. So, for some reason, they kept trying to get him fired too. Yeah. But reaching today's people, my strategy I've been using with a fair bit of success has been working in YouTube videos. So people like looking at screens. Even lectures on screen are generally more acceptable than lecturing in person for some reason. Still working on that. But everybody looks at YouTube, so, and if not YouTube, other items on the internet. And it's full of awesome stuff that is manipulable in any lecture material or curriculum. So, which has a quick introduction to YouTube. Usually what YouTube people are thought of is the original keyboard cat. I guess I'll knock that for a minute. Truly a work of art. I mean, it's going to be beside the Mona Lisa soon, as digital museums come up. But digital museums are everywhere. If anybody's been on Tumblr, going from painting to painting, just as staying on your couch instead. So while this has questionable merit as art or academic material, I mean, you could certainly analyze this based on animal cruelty or grounds of music learning and appreciation. So, but most people would want something a little more for this classroom. This would be a very good icebreaker. So some of us have a lot of students who get to class immediately without their phones. And that's their class. They just got to check in for the 50 or 75 minutes, and they can text each other saying, "Oh man, I'm bored. Are you bored? We're bored," and communicate nothing back and forth instead of actually engaging. But if we get Keyboard Cat out there, we can look at it. We can bring everybody together in an open discussion, and we can shift that discussion toward whatever our topic is. So one of my favorite things to use YouTube for is discussion of the rhetorical triangle. So this is Aristotle's discussion of how to present well, how to persuade people, and it comes with ethos, pathos, and logos at the three corners, which once you start throwing Greek out there, students just roll their eyes. And, so giving good context, talking about who Aristotle was, that certainly helps, but then also giving today illustration, so why would we care? And with that, we use commercials, so clear advertising, clear persuasion. So they're saying, hey, buy this thing, and what we need to do is elevate it to the critical level. Why should we buy this thing? What is this analysis? So, here's a quick clip, one of the best commercials ever.
Hello, ladies. Look at your man. Now back to me. Now back at your man. Now back to me. Sadly, he isn't me. But if he stopped using lady-scented body wash and switched to Old Spice, he could smell like he's me. Look down. Back up. Where are you? You're on a boat with the man your man could smell like. What's in your hand? Back at me. I have it. It's an oyster with 2 tickets to that thing you love. Look again. The tickets are now diamonds. Anything is possible when your man smells like Old Spice and not a lady. I'm on a horse.
There's also a version where Grover does it, which is even better, but sticking with the original. So, ethos on credibility. We have a very good-looking guy, very deep voice. You could actually hire him to leave a message on your voicemail. So, it only costs a few $100s. As well as Old Spice, recognizable company. We always take a poll if anybody's an Old Spice guy. Anybody Old Spice guy? There you go. Yeah. So already instant connection. So good ethos, credibility. Other people might have negative ethos. We talk about that. So if you are dedicated against this smell, think it's bad, then that can automatically contribute against it. We also use things like Tabasco sauce or commercials and so forth. And, well, if you don't like hot sauce, then we don't care. So, which does bring us to pathos, the audience. So, what of the audience's emotions get stirred? So, which specifically, who's the audience?
Women.
Women, right? So he says verbatim, ladies, look at your man, look back at me. So you can say it's implied that it's also a male audience because we want to figure out what women want. There's whole movies about that. He delivers these things that women typically like. He's rich, he's got a boat, he's clean, out of the shower. He's got a horse, he's got diamonds, he's got tickets to that thing you love, right? Which, I don't know, that doesn't really mean anything. But we can analyze it through logos, the logic of the message, the straight up verbs and words that he chooses. So he says, ladies, look at your man. So it's implied that he's there somewhere, that you can see him, he's an attachment to you, and then back at me, and back at him, back at me. Sadly, he's not me. So, hilarious, of course, and clearly probably true. But we can take this on a literal level and say, well, why isn't it? Right? We're setting up this item that is clearly not real, and then we're supposed to apply it to it. So, and that brings in a lot of good discussion of body image in America. A lot of photographs and magazines pretty much tear people's lives apart. Yeah. So, same thing, on a humorous level, so we can actually address it without getting too sobered on it. And then through this course, we show just how ridiculous this is, right? He's on a boat that nobody's steering. He's suddenly on a horse, which I don't think horses would like boats. I'm not sure how that happened, right? He's magic powers. So, which if you meet a guy with magic powers, you know, that seems attractive, but that's not realistic. It's not going to happen. So, how can you make this happen? Well, buy this product and then you'll be happy. So, is that logical? Probably not so much. Some of us are nodding, in which case advertising works very well. At least hold this image. So, but all that just from a YouTube commercial, right? You can break down analysis, and then people, have something genuine to connect with it. So, credibility on ethos, audience on ethos, logos, logic, and be able to follow through what Aristotle was saying 2,300 years ago, and apply it to the man your man can smell like. Yeah. Other stuff on YouTube, not just examples in class, but entire lectures. So TED Talks, which has been around OU, and TED Talks X, which is making good headway just about everywhere. So these are full lectures by experienced people, and you can bring them into the classroom. So lots of them are quite long, 10 minutes. They have some that are 20 and 40. So, you can draw those in. I do have an example lecture, which we won't watch because it's boring. But there's another company, RSA Animate, which takes the very same lecture and just skip ahead. RSA Animates, who takes this very same lecture from Philip Zimbardo and animates it. So, which
remember
everybody
all the
likes
good
cartoons.
times. Successes, happy birthdays,
So
nostalgia. These are the people
stuff.
who keep the family record, the family books,
And we
who
can
have
talk
the
about
family
sociology,
rituals.
psychology,
There are other people who focus.
stuff that generally would make people kind of close off. Yeah. And as a final example, our most famous YouTube video of 2012. Eager to see what 2013 would be. 2011 was Friday, so yeah, gotta get down on Friday. So, Gangnam Style. Which very excellent and quite catchy. And he spent 40 days in a row contemplating how to do the choreography on this, and he almost never slept. So it's actually really a lot of work went into creating this thing. It's kind of cool. But we use that in our diversity day, discussing different cultures and people groups during freshman programs. And we actually break the lines down. So Oppa Gangnam Style. Nobody knows what that means, but everyone on campus can tell you that. Right? Yeah. So Oppa is the Korean term meaning older brother or boyfriend. So kind of this protective figure, this guy who looks out for you. So usually in a romantic sense, more Oppa, but there's also the more familial sense of Oppa. And then Gangnam, which is a very sprucey part of Seoul, so very wealthy. So, which would be like Manhattan style for us, or Orange County style. And style means style, so we can make an easy connection with that. So, what you're actually saying, Oppa Gangnam Style, you're actually saying, hey, I'm a classy guy that'll take care of you. So, which the music video is actually satirical toward that. So, making jokes about racehorses.
All right, that's 10 minutes. So, final thought, or
use YouTube. That's great.
yeah, okay. Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and have 5 minutes of Q&A interaction here.
Yes.
So there, I mean, literally years of videos on YouTube. So how do you manage it? How do you know? How do you find things? What do you do specifically to find that things are going to be useful?
I waste a lot of time on the internet. Which is the first thing.
Not the
Second
interesting
way,
part.
yeah. Figure out what your daily lesson plans are. What's your plan for the curriculum? What do you want to do? And then just type it into the search bar at the top.
Yeah.
So, and then you'll be amazed what you can come up with.
Very, very practical advice there. Yeah.
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 But I mean, all right. Yeah. I mean, we know to search for stuff on YouTube, but you know, some of it's sort of knowing maybe certain keywords that could be more useful than others.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's like you have to be willing to watch 100 things to find, you know. And
Don't watch
I was hoping for better insight than that.
Certainly. Another aspect of using YouTube is see what's new, what's big, what are people listening to, and then seeing if there is a connection to your
So,
through that.
and that shows up where? How do you know what the big hits are?
YouTube actually does a top 10 daily, which that shifts a lot depending on what exactly is going on. News channels also Huff and Post online. Go to them and they use a lot of links.
It's a great opportunity to get your students involved in creating the curriculum. You ask
True
them
that,
what
yeah.
they like, and then you go off the book.
Well, and there was a professor in anatomy physiology that had, I think, like 5 points left over at the end of the semester, and she had her students go out and find videos that correlated to what they talked about all semester
There you go.
to get those points. She got a lot of fantastic stuff.
That's
They
great.
got like a video of some doctor doing a dance to the different arrhythmias of the heart, and it's actually anatomically correct. So he's like, "What dance is this? This is the atrial fibrillation dance," and it's hysterical, and the kids love it. And she would have never found it.
So, Jeff, I'm curious, how much interaction do you see, like when you're showing these things in the classroom? Do you find that students are like, oh, that's pretty cool, but look at this, and they kind of start to lead the charge a little bit, and so you get that level of engagement as well?
Definitely. So, when we're doing rhetorical triangle, I have a couple of examples queued up, and then I ask, what's your favorite commercial? And then people will say, oh, the Darth Vader little kid one, and we watch that and break it down and analyze it.
Yeah.
So, and kind of traverse into, hey, you should be doing this in everyday life. So this commercial you're saying. So, yeah.
We have a small group instructional design people here, so we like this approach, using video clips as an attention getter. So there are three ways to use YouTube videos or any video clips. The first one is using it as an attention getter so that you can introduce a topic, engage students. And the second way to use it is to deliver content, but probably it's hard to find something relevant, immediately. And the third one, actually many instructors do not think about, is using video clips as an assessment strategy. For example, I'm working with a professor in severe weather. She said, oh, I like this video, but unfortunately it has 3 false statements, so I can't use it. And I said, okay, think about this. You ask students to read chapter 1, for example, and then ask them to use the theories in chapter 1 to critique that YouTube video. find out false statements. So she got her aha moment. So she used it. It was successful. So that's the example.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
With the rhetorical triangle, that's what we end up doing toward the end. They're on their own. They have to tell me what all the pieces are.
Especially since we know that everything on the internet is not true.
Yeah.
What?
No, it
It's on the internet, it's true.
So great. All right.
Any other questions? Really like that.
I was just going to say, I was in a presentation with the Intro to Psych professor a couple months ago, and he was using it a little bit for assessment. He had all the basic behavioral tendencies or issues on a list, and students had to go and find characters that exemplified those issues, and each one had a different one, OCD or all the different disorders, and they had to present why. They had to write a paper as to why this character exemplified that, and find a video of them exemplifying that trait. So you can definitely use it for assessment too.
I mean, you can take the dance video and splice it up if you really get technical with it. You can download the videos. There are systems that can do that, and use that and say, what dance is this?
Yeah. That's great. All right, we got 10 seconds left. Anybody? All right, cool. Thank you very much. And so Dr. Samuel Husky will take us through quickly his use of Drupal, an open source content management, website content management platform that he uses for his undergraduate research, and kind of showing us the power of having the ability in content creation and publishing and on the web at large.
Yeah, so I'm in the Department of Classics and Letters, and you don't often think of classicists as getting very digital in the 21st century, but I lead a project for the American Philological Association to create a digital library of Latin texts. So I've been fortunate that Vice President for Research, Alvin Drogemeyer, gave me a server down on the research campus to use for some of my work, and I figured, well, why not use that resource also to benefit my students? So I got them involved in a research project, sort of a project of my own as far as Latin pedagogy goes, but it was also a way for them to learn some new tricks. I chose, instead of using a textbook, I chose to purchase digital images of a medieval manuscript from the Vatican Library, and they're under copyright, so I needed a place to put them where the general public couldn't get access to them. So I thought, Drupal is a really good option here because it's quick to spin up. It comes loaded with a lot of features that I don't have to code in and create for them. For instance, a login system, a user login. So I have a login here for myself and log in. And you'll see it comes up with a lot of other things like my admin menu bar up here that allows me to change a variety of things from the look to the various modules that are available to all kinds of different things about it. Give users permission, basically anything that you want to do, Drupal can do pretty much. It depends on how much you want to be involved in it. Let me just, if you haven't heard of Drupal before, let me just show you that it is an online community dedicated to the open source project of Drupal, which is a content management system. It has a fantastic user community that is able to provide expert assistance if you run into any trouble. And the users are everyone from novice to PHP developers, so it's a really great community. But back to my project here. The main idea here was to get these images up there. So I'll show you one image of the medieval manuscript here. And normally a Latin student would get a textbook that has just typewritten stuff, and you'd go in class, you'd read it and translate it and talk about it, and then you'd go home. they never get to look at this, which is what Latin looks like in manuscript. And it requires a lot of different skills to be able to read. For one, you have to be able to read the handwriting. Two, you have to expand abbreviations because not everything is spelled out. So it's really an active way to learn the grammar and the style of the language. But here we've taken it a step further because I've had students check out images, basically, and perform what's called a diplomatic transcription of these pages, which means that you cover every little jot and tittle and scratch and squiggle, and that's actually a bookworm hole. There are such things as bookworms. But there has to be a good way of capturing all that. And the best way I know is to use XML, particularly using the, let me show you here, the guidelines of the Text Encoding Initiative. They have a variety of guidelines for how to handle different kinds of transcriptions or different kinds of content in XML. And for example, they have a module for representation of primary sources to tell you how to handle all of the various things that are going to occur in a text. So that's all fine and good, but my students didn't know XML. So I needed to help them out with that. One of the things I landed on was a program called Komodo Edit. You don't really need to see it. It looks like it's slow loading, but it'll come up eventually. Komodo Edit is a free open source code editor that comes equipped with this kind of stuff that will show you different parts of your code in different colors. It will also complete code and tell you if you've made syntax errors. So it's very friendly, and more important, it's free. So my students didn't have to purchase anything to get started using it. Okay, so let me show you here what they would start out with. The idea was that they would start out with an entry like this, just a small snippet of text that has lots of stuff going on, like someone came in here and corrected it, someone wrote a marginal note. And then they would turn this into XML, which is basically turning it into a format that's machine readable and human readable, so that this is going to be a resource eventually that humans can use to read the text, but also can build queries to find out specific information about linguistic problems or manuscript issues. But you see that what you're doing is inserting very rich metadata into the text. For example, this A here has been rubricated or written in red and is a part from the text. And it's an opportunity to get a lot of information crammed into a transcription. The next step for them was to take that entry and upload it or paste it into a Drupal content type, where you've got your code here and a translation. But Drupal comes with a commenting module so that I don't have to build anything. I can come in and comment on what they've done, and other users can come in and help too. There's also a message board in case anyone's having trouble. For example, someone posted here, gosh, I'm not really sure what's going on, and I was able to give some help. But this is, again, something that I didn't have to build. It was just already part of Drupal, and I could just activate it in the module. Okay, so the next thing after that, after they had published their transcription, I took them through the process of learning how to transform their code into HTML using XSLT. That was one of my reasons for doing this project, because I wanted to learn how to do that. So while they were working on the XML, I was teaching myself XSLT. But this transforms into HTML. They were able to go in and maybe tidy it up a little bit. Then I taught them about cascading style sheets, which was the next step to turn that machine-readable language into something that means something to humans. Right? It's on the page, it's transcribed with full representation of all the various things that were going on in the manuscript. This has been a really useful project. I deliberately left it with a very basic Drupal theme. I'm sure Mario recognizes it from his uses of Drupal before. But it's right out of the box. It's available. You can just activate it, and there it is. I did nothing to change the content as far as the design of the page. But there are almost infinite ways to change the look of a Drupal site. In fact, I'll bet you that most of the sites that you go to these days are actually running on Drupal, or at least a lot of them. Certainly a lot of universities are running on it. My hope is to get a faculty user group started so that we can start exploring how to use Drupal to customize projects like this for undergraduates, or maybe spin up some uses that are not really available through D2L, maybe, or that maybe a more flexible content management system could offer more possibilities. I've seen people experimenting with incorporating some social media modules into their learning spaces on Drupal, so that you have people voting on content or earning badges as they go along, or all of those kinds of things. The beautiful thing about Drupal is its flexibility and extensibility. There are dozens upon dozens of modules out there that people create just because they want to. And there's great support for using them. And since it's an open source community, people can go in and make modifications, suggest changes, customize things, and put them back out there for other people to use and comment on. And it's a really, I've found, very open and accessible community. There's hardly ever any kind of flaming on the discussion boards or anything like that, because they're all interested in making this product a lot better. So that's in a nutshell what what I've been doing. And I hear that Mario's phone is barking at me. So
Our guard dog is saying it's time to wrap it up.
it is time to wrap it up. Unfortunately, that's where I've landed. I'm wrapping it up right now. So, nutshell, Drupal is great as a content management system. It's relatively easy to spin up, but it can become infinitely complex if you want to get more and more involved in it. And the great thing is that there's a community of experts out there that is willing to help if you get lost. So there you go.
And to expand on that, when you think about Drupal, think about it in the same class as something like Linux, where it's a giant open source project that just happened to have this expansive community growth. And really, it's so powerful to have that community behind it. We were talking about user groups. There's a user group in the city. Like to see something maybe happen like that in Norman. So the community behind Drupal is really fantastic. I've read conflicting stats over the past few years, but I've heard anything from 26% all the way up to like 50% of higher ed of EDU sites are in Drupal. And then I also read an interesting stat that said 2% of all the internet. So the entire internet is Drupal.
How does that compare to Moodle in terms of higher ed? How does that compare to Moodle?
Moodle is more of a learning management system, whereas Drupal is more of a content website management system. That's not to say that you couldn't. There are actually LMS modules that you can spin up in a Drupal install.
This is meant to be separate, though, from what D2L is meant to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
D2L is specifically for learning management, whereas this is an all-encompassing kind of content management system. The other thing I wanted to emphasize here was that my students had absolutely no costs associated with this course except for tuition. They didn't buy any textbooks, they didn't have to buy any software, because everything that I used was entirely open source and available for free download. And some of them even got interested in learning how to do Drupal, so we started a little tutorial on that too. It's great. Yeah.
So what did you do with this content now that they've created it? Is it just going to live on this website, or is it accessible to other people?
Well, eventually it will be. It's going to be an ongoing research project for my students semester by semester until we finish this manuscript, and then it will be published in the digital Latin library that we're working on for the APA.
That's great.
Yeah, so students are going to get credit for doing this in a professional application. Yeah.
I'm curious, as you started doing this, was a class?
Yeah.
Did it change the nature of the interaction when you guys met, that you were doing so much online and you were getting feedback, sort of in a more continuous loop? What became the nature of the face-to-face meetings?
The face-to-face meetings were more on the order of a workshop setting. You know, I really don't understand this part. Can you help me out here? How are you guys solving this problem? That kind of thing. And periodically we'd talk about the more traditional side of things, about codicology, manuscripts, paleography, and all of that. But there was very little lecturing in this class. It was more active learning and how do I make sense of this Latin and then describe it in metadata? That's the extra piece to this that got them thinking in a more sophisticated way than they would normally if they were just reading a textbook.
Because I've done some classes where we've done a heavy online component, and one of the experiences that I've had is that students, there's this sort of common language that emerges that hadn't in just traditional face-to-face classes, that changed sort of the way that even communication unfolded, and it seemed to get more effective because of it. Did you experience some of that?
Yeah, and I found that they started, well, to give you a really good example of how they gelled as a group, they decided about towards the end of the fall semester that they wanted to do a collaborative project for undergraduate research day, and they presented a poster as a team. So that was really nice to see.
My question, I guess, I've been wondering, is this a skill set that they would be using professionally, or do you?
Yes.
Okay.
It will be. This is kind of cutting edge. I'm sorry to use that term, but you know, I hate to place myself on the cutting edge of anything. I'm a classicist. But at any rate, scholarship in the humanities is turning more and more to digital humanities research, which involves things like data mining and transcribing and this kind of stuff. So I figured giving them an introduction to XML and its various technologies would do them a lot of good whether or not they go on in this field, because XML is it is itself extensible, and you can turn it and use it in other fields. So I figured it was a good thing to give them regardless.
And I think it takes that next step too, in just computer literacy.
Yeah.
You know, technology's. I mean, you know, read recently that in the future everybody will know how to program the computer. I mean, it's like you know how to drive a car or whatever. It's just a core competency of kind of our makeup. So I'm curious about the learning curve, creating content, and specifically in a code editor. So you have, I mean, at first were they kind of freaking out a little bit?
They were a little bit concerned.
Yeah.
It took 2 weeks for them to get up and running and producing full entries that needed just a little bit of tweaking.
And I remember learning code and getting that feedback when Hello World comes up. And it's like, oh, I can do this, and so that light comes on, and so I think that kind of sparks the learning as well.
Well, the other thing is that XML itself is just data. It's not exactly going to do anything until you get something else involved, like SSLT. So all they were having to deal with was the feedback the code editor was giving them, like a red line saying, oh, you missed something.
Yeah.
And then it would tell them, so it was pretty easy for them to be self-learners.
Awesome. And anything else? All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Husker. I'm not doing anything as innovative as that. In fact, my talk is going to be kind of boring compared to this. So bear with me for a minute. I wanted to well, I guess you can see my notes here. I don't have any. I'm not sure why it's defaulting to this, but so I just wanted to talk real quick about the instructional video capture kit. Okay. We've developed a program in CTE. I guess for those of you who haven't met yet, My name is Mario, and I'm the academic technology consultant for the Center for Teaching Excellence, which means my primary role on campus is to support faculty in using technology. So if there's anything that you need, let me know. One of the things that we've developed is an instructional video capture kit. So with the move to flipping the class, to delivering course content outside of the classroom and using class time for some more active learning elements, we want to support faculty in creating these things. We understand that you're probably not going to go out and spend $1,000 on a Wacom tablet and have a separate laptop and buy the software and everything like that. So what we're trying to do is just facilitate that for you. And a few ways that you can do that. So you can demonstrate online content. So for example, if Dr. Husky needed to say, you know, guys, here's how you create a piece of content using Drupal. You could quickly screen capture that, walk through the steps in a couple of minutes, save that out as a video and distribute it to your students. So you can do that. You can show how to operate a program, for example, or operate an app on an iPad. And you can make concept videos, so you can annotate certain slides, you can diagram things, and again, saving that out in video format, you can distribute that to all of your students. We also have the, kind of the webcam instruction, the talking head that we see a lot, interfacing with the camera. Maybe you want to deliver a nice video message in the first day of class, or an audio, something like that. And also, we have kind of the ability to take it from, all the way from just this really quick thing where you hit and start and stop and record, or you're doing that, plus you're doing some post-production, you're adding embellishments, you're making edits, you're bringing things in. So however deep you want to dive into that, we're here to support that. So this is what it isn't. Okay, it's not, let's set the tripod up in the back, and then I'm going to lecture, and you're going to record me, and then after that I'm going to distribute to my students. That's not, that's not what our goal is here. So keep that in mind. I've spoken with a lot of faculty in my time here that kind of want something like this. There may be a place for it, but that would be a separate conversation. So let's look real quick about at the tool overview. So we have, in the kit, we have an iPad with the Explain Everything app. If you own an iPad, you should own the Explain Everything app. Trust me, buy it. It's $2, I think. You'll get $2 in the first 2 minutes out of it. We have the Air server set up, which helps to record what's happening on the iPad to an actual computer. The computer itself is QuickTime, which everybody has by default if you're running the new version of the OS. We have Camtasia available for you, which has some really nice post-production, including closed captions. And we have a program called Ink2Go, which interfaces with the Wacom tablet, so you could bring slides in, you could talk to the camera, you can explain, you can diagram, move on to the next slide, and you're doing the same thing. And then, of course, iMovie is a really easy video editing tool. So, does anybody know how to change this? I'm kind of getting a little bit weirded out. I feel like you should be looking at my screen, and I'm in this reverse universe.
Oh, it's mirrored.
Oh, is it mirrored? Oh,
Yeah.
Well, don't worry, we'll edit this part out. We'll get that fixed.
Big
There we go.
black box.
Ken, my champion. All right. All right, so a couple ways we talked about accessing online content. Again, here's how to log into D2L. You're brand new to campus, you're brand new to the LMS. Here's how you log into D2L and find your class. Here's where my syllabus is. Here, you may want to take it that far. The software that you would use here is QuickTime QuickTime or Camtasia, and the time requirement here is very minimal. Just basically as long as you want to create the video. It can take 5-10 minutes. Demonstrating a program. So here we have a fresh new iBooks author interface. You could say, I'm working with a faculty member right now who's assigning as their final paper an iBook. Okay, so it's up to the students, collect all the content, create an iBook, and turn that in for their assignment. So she could very easily say, here's how to change the fonts. Do that. Maybe she's getting a lot of questions about how I import images, for example. She can make a short instructional video, 2 minutes maybe, that says here's how you put new images in here. In this case, computer, either QuickTime or Camtasia again. They kind of do the same thing. Camtasia is a little bit more robust. And again, it's a matter of sitting down, hitting record, and going through the motions. iPad app, same way. We can use an iPad that's connected to a computer with Air Server. Again, we're using QuickTime or Camtasia. Depending, it can be minimal, it can be substantial. So you can demonstrate what the app looks like or how to get to an app, how to change a setting, IT. Maybe students have a hard time with connecting to OU Wi-Fi or something. They don't know how to turn their Wi-Fi on and off or something. So this something like this might be good. And just stepping through quickly, going to the annotations for audio slides. This is where Explain Everything comes in. It basically is a whiteboarding app that gives you all kinds of functionality for recording, bringing in slides, bringing images, annotating on top of them, drawing shapes, diagrams, things like that. So iPad, computer. The computer component is, you can imagine the iPad is a fairly powerful computer, although it's not great at crunching video. So there's an app that goes on the computer. The iPad version of Explain Everything sends it over to the computer to do all the processing. Otherwise, your iPad is running for like 5 minutes, depending on the length. It may be running trying to render that movie out, so it would be inaccessible for a while. So again, Explain Everything compressor. That's the computer component, and the time is fairly minimal. This is really when you start getting into kind of doing the full package of everything. We've got really fantastic Wacom tablets up there that show you on the screen your slides or your whiteboard or whatever it is. It's fairly precise, so that capability is there. So again, we have a computer, Wacom. The software is called Ink2Go, very robust. And it can be substantial just depending on what you're going to do. You could do some webcam instruction. You could kind of bring up this Ink2Go. We could set you up to where it's recording your face. You're talking to the students. You're drawing, and then in post-production we bring it up here. They can kind of see what's happening here as you're stepping them through. So this is a little bit more of a commitment, I think. As is the edits and embellishments. I mean, if you think about post-production, we can do just about anything there. So in this example, here's an example of an instructional video that we made for the chemistry class, the lab manual. And we added a little graphic that said, "Don't forget to do this" here. So that's Austin's hand, I think, here. Yeah, and the left hand here. So real quick, just to walk you through the roadmap. So we'll start here, and this is kind of a level of commitment, I guess. I don't want to say that, but basically, your first step is going to be QuickTime, because you're essentially just pulling up something on your screen. You're hitting record. You're either talking or you're demonstrating. It records. You hit stop, and that's going to shoot that out in the movie, and you're ready to go. Okay. Pretty easy to do. Explain Everything, again, is kind of taking a next step to that. Gives you a lot more functionality. Camtasia is probably going to be kind of the next step in this process. If you wanted to, maybe you wanted to add a little post-production. Maybe you want to do your closed captions in Camtasia. I need to mention, by default, your videos aren't going to be captioned, so you need to make provisions for that. So we need to be ADA compliant. So there, I said the line. iMovie is, again, if you're using an Apple product, it's a pretty easy, just movie editor. You can do some transitions, you can cut some things. Pretty easy to go through and do that. And then kind of the end. Where you're ready to become a full-fledged video producer is Ink2Go with the Wacom tablet. Really allows you the ability to do anything. That's kind of the roadmap here that we've set forth. Again, we realize that faculty's time is very valuable. We own all of this. And we purchased it all and set it all up with the intention and the hope that you would use it. So if we can help to facilitate that, if you're already comfortable with some of these things and you want to check one out and take it to your office and use it for a couple of weeks, that's great. If you want to set aside a time where you can come talk to me or my team, we can help you through some of this stuff. We can do that as well. And really any level of engagement that you want to have there, we're here to help. We can make that happen. So questions?
Mario, the app is actually explaining anything.
It's explaining everything.
No, I tried to search for it and it wouldn't search. Unless they changed their name. Now, the one I found was explain anything.
Are you searching iPhone or are you searching?
Yeah, it's just for the iPhone. Because that's an iPhone.
It's an iPad app and it's explain everything.
Yeah.
But explain anything might be cool on too. I haven't seen that one, but yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
man.
because this one's actually for iPhone.
iPhone names. Okay, I apologize. Then.
No, that's
I
good.
apologize.
We should get explain anything on the iPhone though. Maybe we add that to the kit at some point too. So
I don't know. I couldn't find explain everything because I was trying to find it.
right.
So
It's probably because you're on iPhone.
okay, sorry. I apologize for.
Edit that from the video.
Maybe explain anything. We'll tell you how to find explain.
So, and I know it's a lot. I mean, believe it or not, it started out way bigger than this, and so that's why we kind of want to make this roadmap of, you know, at the very least, you can start to kind of start here, and then if you're interested in doing these things, you know, it's available to you.
How much does it cost for people to use this stuff?
It costs $1 million, but just ask your department. I'm sure they'll. No, it's absolutely free. Okay, I mean we're, you know, President Boren and Dr. Mergler and Nick Hathaway have been very generous in funding, you know, Center for Teaching Excellence and really trying to kind of get the ball rolling because we want to support instruction. And so this comes at no cost to the faculty. The only investment that you're making is your time. And we know that you do that anyway. And to improve instruction and improve learning, you're doing that anyway. So we want to just kind of help you through that with providing the training and the technology. So it's free.
And Mario, you didn't include G in it. Is there a reason?
Camtasia takes Jing a little bit further. Jing, I guess, is more of just a quick screen capture, which you can do with QuickTime, and QuickTime is free. So, but if you want to use Jing, I think it may be $20 a license or something like that. We could certainly help to facilitate that as well. I think that what we want to do is get you comfortable in whatever you want to use, you know, and that sounds like a really, you know, altruistic statement. We're going to do all this for you, but it's true. I mean, if you want to look into Jing, and we're hoping to look into some Drupal work. We're hoping to kind of just support that anywhere. So Jing could be a possibility as well. So. If you know of anybody, if you want to do this yourself, please feel free to contact me. I'm in the Center for Teaching Excellence, teach.ou.edu. You can email me, or we can hang around and talk for a little while. I think we're good on time, right? We're coming up on. Yeah, so it's 10:25. So. I know. Nobody. I didn't hear a dog bark. I'm like, disappointed.
It'd be great if there was some training on this stuff.
Yeah.
So are we?
There is. Call me. So let's do that. And if you know, I mean, if obviously if we get 20 people that email me today, we'll set up some type of formalized training, or we'll maybe do it in groups and things like that.
Well,
but right now we're doing kind of one-on-one. So.
Well, in summer I'm going to plan some faculty learning communities. Yeah, so maybe this is part of one of the faculty learning community.
Kind of a content creation.
Yeah.
Maybe we can roll that up into a Drupal content distribution. You know, what do I do with my videos after I'm done with them?
Well, there are so many ways to create video vignettes. Yeah, one approach that I like is, you know, I can create it in front of my in front of my computer, because faculty members' time are very busy. So how can I use the tools which are user-friendly and also at my fingertips? So that's what faculty members would like to. Another approach is, you know, how can we ask professionals to help to make it more, you know, studio type videos. So two different approaches.
Let me show you an example really quick. This is from a class that I took last year.
You can think about the core gameplay elements in the gameplay system in terms of loops. And here I mean loops similarly to the way computer software
So
programs
there's a slide
often
up
operate.
here.
Think about a
Kinda
simple program
introducing-
that is running a constant loop, check for key press, check for key press, check for key press, and then if someone presses a key on the keyboard, it fires off another process or subroutine. That in and of itself then becomes a motivator.
So
that's why
a diagram
this is
that's
a
already
loop.
made.
The action produces the feedback becomes a form of motivation, the motivation leads to more action.
Engaging.
So designing a
moving around.
gamified site involves structuring the way that that loop happens. And this will be more evident for some kinds of gamification than others, as well as the sweep and the potential of the challenge to conquer if you want to get to the next level.
So, you know, kind of give you an idea of this is like the end spectrum, like what is actually possible with the technology that we have. This is with, I'm not sure exactly what Professor Warback used, but this is going to probably be some type of Wacom tablet with a program that's running and it's interfacing or accessing the video camera to record his face and everything like that. So, you know, this is kind of what is possible to deliver. This is a big scale. You can simply deliver a video of yourself really easily. So, almost forgot about that. I wanted to show you guys that too. So.
I think, you know, addressing the studio quality or, you know, that production type, it sort of reminds me of PowerPoint when it first came out, and then you did every animation that you could in every slide.
Yeah,
and
just because you can do it.
Yeah, and then it ends
yeah.
up being a huge distraction within the course or the content that you're trying to, you know, to deliver. And I think, you know, applying that within the context of using this as a effective tool or effective source, you know, is really important in determining that.
I will say too, the feedback that I've gotten from other professors who are doing this at other universities is that it helps you as an instructor to pare your content down and be concise and deliver. Like, so these videos are 5 or 6 minutes, and you're delivering a certain concept. You're not delivering a 45-minute lecture. You know, you're delivering a core concept of what you're reinforcing that learning objective. You know, you're really talking about that in a very short window. And so I think that can be a good exercise for instructors to go through as well. All right. Thanks, everybody.